Sometimes when we would get a new patient in, the first thing we would do is we'd reach out to hold their hand or we'd touch their back, and they would just grab on because they were so isolated and they were so scared. Yeah. They were hurting. They were scared, and they were like lepers because nobody wants to touch them.
Right.
Because they are sick with COVID. And so their family can't come to see them. They, most of them were isolated from family members, isolated from anybody they knew, any friends, for weeks often. And so because we were protected, we were very good protective equipment. When we walked into the COVID unit, which was a closed off unit, we had to have protective equipment to go there. Then we could touch them, we could hold their hand, and just those things. And you know, when we saw that they were struggling, we would ask if we could pray with them. And I'll tell you, so many patients wanted us to pray with them, and they knew who we were. There was one woman who, she probably was in her 50s, and she was an immigrant from another country, and she had been laying in bed for days. Physically, she was getting better from COVID, but mentally, she was a wreck. And she couldn't get herself even to get out of bed and try to walk because she had no family to talk to. She actually didn't have any children. She didn't have any family close in New York City. And she was really alone. And it was so heavy on her. And so we would spend a bit more time as we would check on her and do our medical work. We would just spend a bit more time with her. And there was one day that we realized there's another patient on this floor who speaks her native language. And so we actually moved her down to that room. But before moving her down, I asked her if I could pray with her because she was declining. She was spiraling down in her heart and her emotions, and she wanted me to pray with her, and we prayed. And then the next day I came to visit her, and she was sitting up in her bed. She had makeup on, she had her glasses on, and was reading. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? And she said, you prayed. And I said, it wasn't my prayer, it was God's work. As they improve, they start to be able to sit up at the edge of the bed, stand up and take a little walk. And when they actually can walk with the nurse and actually get out of the room and start walking down the hall, the nurses would they would just send up a cheer. And it was just, you knew someone was coming out of their room for the first time after they had been down for a long time. And it was so encouraging to the patients. There was just a brightness there that Jesus just shined through that care, that kind of care. Yeah. I mean, it's a thrill to serve God in any capacity, whether it's with your neighbor or whether it's overseas or in New York, it doesn't matter. And it's certainly not about me. I'm nothing special, and I've not done anything great, but it's just a thrill to be a part of what God is doing.